What is up, Drabonies? JJ back here with Snyder, Mangone, talking a little PGA. It has been quite some time. Enjoyed doing these shows with you guys last year, and even Uncle T, and he'll be back with us next week. And just a show where we run down some quick DFS plays. Obviously, this is intended to be a betting show, but some quick DFS plays, and then some top 20s, some outright winners, some dogs that have value. Some even targetable matchups, maybe even some final notes. But it has been a while, so I'll start with you, Snyder. How have you been? I know we've been doing a little college football, and I think college football must have been good for you because look at that haircut. Love the high fade, being a high fade guy myself. Big fan. So what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty pumped to be back for another PGA season. Last year was good for us. I hope this year's better for us. It was fun with you on the college football streets. Mangone was in there a couple of times with us, I think. Yeah, football's been good. Looking to dive into this PGA slate and find some more winners for the people.
Awesome. And Mangone, you as far as I'm concerned and you're concerned, we've been on milk cartons as it relates to each other. But it's nice to kind of sync back up and do some more content with you. And I always enjoy this show. If anything, I probably troll you the hardest. So it's I always enjoy this show weekly. But how is the high life in Colorado?
Good. I guess Mountain Mangone has entered the chat. No longer Travis on the Jersey shores, but we're here having a good time. We're talking some golf, and yeah, it's good to hang out with you again, JJ. I love going back and forth. I mean, we were already chopping it up before the show started a week ago. We were going to maybe get this thing going, and I said, I need Dunkel now. I need to face off with him. I need his Patrick Cantlay takes. I need it all, but we're going to have a good time. Obviously, we'll break down some betting. We'll talk some DFS, and yeah, we'll have Uncle T for sure back next week.
Yeah, cool. So this one begins here, the Sony Open over in Hawaii. Though, Snyder, do me a favor, correct me if I'm wrong here. Waiʻalae?
I think it's Waiʻalae Country Club.
Waiʻalae Country Club.
I believe so.
We believe Waiʻalae. So this tournament last year, if there's one thing I remember, I don't know if it was unexpected or not, but I feel like Chris Kirk, top 5 tier last year. Maybe I think he got in second
Sounds
here
about
last
right.
year.
Yeah, Kevin Na won the event.
Wow, yeah. So Na and then Kirk was in second. I don't remember the rest of the order. I just remember that being a little eye popping for me.
It was probably Webb Simpson. He was up there too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we look at this field, right, and it's a bit watered down. I believe next week we'll likely see a fatter field in regards to elite play, but want to just briefly preview the course, what's expected, the par, and as Mangone loves, how's the grass look on the rough? And
we definitely need the layer rough. We not needed that. We need the salted greens. I mean, it's been a minute since we've had that conversation.
Yeah. So Snyder, what's going on with this course?
Yeah, we're on a coastal course here. It's gonna play pretty short. Par 70 here is gonna play right around 7,000 yards. They've had lots of rain here recently. The course is even flooded on 2 separate occasions, they've said. But I heard some reports today. A couple of the golfers were saying the greens are soft, but they're actually getting some rollout in these fairways, which is interesting. I mean, with the greens being soft, though, they're definitely gonna punish this place again like we saw last week. I don't think we're gonna see quite as much scoring as we saw last week, but I do expect the winning score to be in that 20 to 25 under par range. So we're going to be needing long iron play, wedge play. You're going to need to get hot with the putter too. I mean, if there's going to be a winner at that 20 to 25 under range, you're going to have to make quite a few birdie putts. So you need to get hot with the putter. You need with the tree line fairways here too. It's kind of going to put an emphasis on finding the fairway off the tee. So you want some guys that are going to be able to find the fairway off the tee. Good ball strikers. Some other key stats I'm looking at: key strokes gained approach, birdies are better percentage, fairways gained, and putting with that emphasis on Bermuda putting. But other than that, it's going to be pretty crazy out there. I mean, you're going to see a lot of low scores, a lot of birdie streaks, and just hold on and try to get lucky and have a sweat on Sunday.
Yeah, when I see a par 70 course, I immediately think irons and tee to green being extremely critical. Not the tee to green is not. I mean, I'm sure it is with every course, right? But I know you mentioned ball strikers. Is there a lot of par fives? I can't imagine on a par 70 there's that many par fives. A lot
Just
of par
2.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah,
distance isn't going to be anything desired here this week.
Okay, so you ultimately expect a lot of decent iron play. Likely wins this tournament. But we could talk on DFS. So Snyder, I'll start with you. Your we always do this anyway, right? Favorite high price guy and favorite low price guy, maybe mid price guy, wouldn't matter. But who's the guy you're targeting at the top price range, and who's the guy you're targeting at the bottom price range for value?
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at Mark Leishman up here at the top. I'm kind of seeing him getting a little more steam, though, as the week goes on. I mean, he ended the year real strong, a couple top fives. He treated us really well last weekend, too. I mean, I like to target these Aussies on these Hawaiian courses. We saw the Aussie Cam Smith, who I think Cam Smith is going to come in pretty low owned. He's priced way up. I mean, I think he makes for a great GPP play. I don't think many people are going to go back to him. So in GPPs, I like going to him as everybody's going to be going right below him, the Webb. But I like Leishman at the bottom of that range. He's gained over 6 strokes approach in his last 2 trips here. He's had solid course history here, hit 88% of his greens last week. I realized those greens were quite large in size, but I do like how he is bringing over the good mojo here. And then when we're dipping down, like I don't really like too many guys in that 7K range. I mean, I'm going to have some exposure to quite a few of those guys, but I'm looking down here in the 6K range at a guy named Max McGreevy. He's a Korn Ferry guy, finished inside the top 20 in his 2 PGA starts. He was 11 under at the RSM, shot sub 70 in all 4 of his rounds there, finished 8th in the Korn Ferry Championship. He's a good ball striker. He can get hot with the flat 6 also, so I don't think he's going to catch much ownership down here, so that's a guy I'm be looking at in the 6K range for tournaments and such.
Awesome. And as you guys know, I by no means am a PGA or golf guy. I don't claim to be. I don't tout to be. I am surprised McGreevy was spelled just how I thought it would be spelled. No EA there. Mangone, who's your top high-priced golfer? And I expect, as always, you to go on some type of tangent and never even answer the question. But who do you like as your top-priced DFS guy?
Yeah, I mean, let's kick this off with a tangent to start out. Let's not answer your question and ask Snyder. Snyder, here's the real question I got for you. We got this event, and this event isn't your typical one, right? Because if you are a newcomer to going over, taking that plane ride over, you struggle more than some of these other guys. So I want you first to talk about the guys that played last week. Do you think there's an edge in just going into the Sabre Sim, kicking all the guys out of the pool that weren't here last week and just playing guys in the pool from this past week, loading the boat on that and just calling it a day in Sabre Sim? What's your thoughts on that, Snyder, before I go into everything?
I think there's a small edge. I wouldn't outweigh it or anything. I mean, you have seen good recent history, but I mean, there's a couple things that go into that. A lot of the guys that play in that TOC are usually the better players on tour as they've won an event. I do think, like, you got a guy like Webb Simpson. He didn't play last week, but he lives in North Carolina. He said he made the trip. It was a longer trip to get to Hawaii than it is to get to the Open Championship for him. So he said he loves coming here. This is like one of his favorite courses to play with. It sets up perfectly for his game. He didn't play last week, and I'm definitely not shying away from him this week.
Yeah, that's a seamless transition to. I like Webb Simpson this week. He's definitely someone that's on the radar, but of course, like, I think he's going to get some ownership. I think people are interested in Webb Simpson. There's a lot of good options at the top. It seems like one guy I like that. I don't know. I'm not agreeing with what the ownership is, but maybe I end up being wrong. But I don't think everyone's playing Corey Connors. But I think Corey Connors is a really good option.
I think he's going to be pretty chalky.
You do? Okay. I was thinking others. I mean, maybe because they just go to Webb, but he is 9.6. It is a good price tag, and it's definitely been a minute since I've kind of jumped into those golf DFS streets. I played last week a little bit, dabbled, but we're cranking it up a little bit more. I'm doing 50 lineups. Maybe I'll join that. There's still contests open. Maybe I'll join that single entry one. But I had some Cam Smith last week. I'm not going to go back to him here. I think Answer is not a bad guy that you can go to at the top that I think is kind of interesting. And then is it a good stars and scrubs week? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking diving into that 6K range. Typically, it's not something I like to do, or maybe like the high 6. I don't want to go like to the bottom. But I think if you take 2 guys in like that low 7, low 6 range and load up on guys at the top, That's kind of what I'm trying, I think, to do this week, Snyder. That was at least the DFS strategy I was looking at. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't mind that. There's a lot of guys in this 8K, 9K range I like, so I could see myself kind of more so going to like an even type build. Like in cash for sure, I'm going to be on an even type build. You got Seamus Power at 8.1K. You got Matt McNeely 8.3. Russell Henley's in there. Kevin Kisner, he's going to be one of the most popular plays here. I think Kevin Kisner is just an absolute elite target. He's right around, or he is 8.9. So I think he's just, this course sets up so good for him. I think this is one of the tracks that he can win on, but I'll hit on him later as we get it further onto this. But yeah, it's interesting. I think people are going to pick like maybe one of these 10K guys and then kind of come down. I think some people are going to start with Corey Connors. I don't think I'm going to be playing Abe Answer this week, though. I don't mind it. I get the play. I mean, he did finish damn near DFL last week. He lost over 9 strokes total. I just think his game's kind of in shambles here. I'm not sure if he can compete at this type of a birdie fest either, but I mean, he's definitely his game is up there. I mean, raw talent, he's definitely a good play in this field.
Yeah, let me give you one more guy that you mentioned. And Dunkel, don't be mistaken. Just because Snyder has that good looking haircut, he loves some Mav McNeely, which looks like a guy he'd hang out with that haircut, right? Him and Mav just hanging out on the town, having a good night. McNeely's been great, man. Like, he's been pretty good. It looks like I kind of looked at some of the numbers on him, and he's just been in really good form. And Dunkel, this is one of those times a year where we're going to start seeing these golfers that, like, we were waiting to kind of rise to the top, right? Some of these young guys, like, you're not going to get some of those prices at where they were. Like, Big T made fun of me maybe a year ago. I said, Scotty Scheffler, you can get at like 7.5 or whatever. Yeah. He's going to be 9K next year. And then what do you know? Scotty Scheffler popped up. So this is the time to take advantage of those guys, right? It's the buy low opportunity. Buy the dip, just like the Ethereum, Dunkel. Buy the dip on these guys now, and then let's get in let's not get in at the top, It's definitely going to be fun to get in on some of these guys. Like Matt McNeely is one. He's 8.3 and it feels a lot, but I think it's wrong. I think you're going to be getting him up to a really expensive tag shortly. I think he's going to have a nice breakout season.
Yeah, I like Matt McNeely this year. Well, I mean, me for the previous years. I mean, I've been on Mav quite a bit. Usually I only target Mav, though, on this West Coast ring, mainly in California. He's from California. California kid, loves the post service there. But lately, I mean, this last year, the end of the year, I mean, his off the tee game just greatly improved. His iron play improved much. I mean, he just ended the year on a tear. What he finished top 20 finish in 10 of his last 13 events. Only missed one cut during that stretch. I mean, he was great for us. I mean, he can get super hot with the flat stick though, like we've seen previous times. I mean, he used to be an elite putter, but he always struggled with the irons. Well, now he figured out how to hit his irons, and he's hitting the ball off the tee really well too. So I think Mav's a great option this week.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I definitely think for DFS, it's going to be good. Dunkel, I mean, you could take away and steer the ship where it needs to go next, but I think those are some of the guys I like there. I think my favorite, if you're wanting the top guy to finally answer your question, Dunkel, I think it's going to be Corey Connors.
This is why this show is so difficult to host. A simple fucking question was asked to Mangone, and like 15 minutes later, like, he's blowing Mav McNeely.
Yeah, and Mav's one of those guys. He feels expensive, Dunkel, and it's not enough. The price is wrong. It needs to be higher. I'm sorry.
So I love that I typed that's his favorite mid to high priced guy, and then like after the whole segment, he mentions a name that he didn't mention once in the previous 10 minutes.
We mentioned it once. Why not both? I think they're both great. I mean, there's like if you wanted me to give out a core, and I don't know, it's going to not be the easiest, but like Webb Simpson, Corey Connors, and Matt McNeely, that'd be a nice starting point. You got to mix in those value guys, mix in those guys that we need to buy low on, Dunkel, all those young guns.
Yeah, and just because I don't have the pricing in front of me, Mangone, value, I can't imagine any of the three you mentioned are low price guys. Who would you say in the bottom tier or even the lower to mid tier is somebody that you would target?
Yeah, I definitely like buying. Well, here's one thing we should mention. I need to look at ownership. That's always important. Like, you don't want to be on like the 22%, like 6.5K guy, right? Like, that's just not the chalk to me.
Sure.
Like, so I don't know if Ramey's going to get any ownership there. I like buying on a lot of the young guys, though. Like a Taylor Pendrith. I think he's going to be a really talented player. I think he's someone that might be kind of low owned. Seems like Ramey might be low owned. Those are the guys I kind of like to just jump on. Now, I don't want to play all three in my lineup, Dunkel, right? I'm not trying to hit a three-legged parlay with all these guys. Like, I think you mix and match these lower owned guys throughout your lineups. I think that's kind of the way to approach it. And I think there's good value on that too in like the long shot betting market to take chances on these guys. Snyder, is it typically, I saw a stat, I believe Tambo's boy, he does the show with him, Kenny Kim, he said, I think every single golfer that's like won this event over like X amount of years has been like over the age of 30. Does that factor you, like the experience factor at all? And also because like these young guys in DFS, they don't have to win for you. Like a 6.5K golfer, a 7.1, they don't have to win. A top 10 gets it done. So I think that's perfectly fine. But that's something to talk about. I think when we're talking about these long shots, right? Like if the guy's not over 30, do you cross him off on your like long shot betting card?
Yeah, I think definitely first timers haven't fared well here, but I wouldn't go all the way up to like 30 or something. I mean, I'm not going to do quite that. I do think when you're talking about playing chalk, I think the chalk you want to play is like at those more well-known guys that we know, like a Webb Simpson. I mean, he's a good chalk. I mean, just generally fade these cheap chalk because they're a lot more volatile and you never know what's going to happen there. But yeah, like Cam Smith, I don't think anybody's going to go up there if you're like trying to get off of chalk or something. Just throw him in a lineup or something like that. We haven't seen anybody pull off the Hawaii double, I don't think. But, I mean, who's to say? Like, he doesn't have to win at that price either. I mean, you can have him at 11-2 there. If he gets third place and you hit on one of your mid-range guys or something, I mean, you're just fine.
Look, I'd love for the two of you to jerk each other off about every single player on this DFS slate. But in reality, we're now 17 minutes in and we haven't even talked on one potential golfer to back betting wise.
16 minutes.
True, valid, touche.
We're just waiting for the edible to hit in, Dunkel. That's all.
You're just trying to rile me up tonight, and that's fine. It's fair. So in relation to the betting market, obviously we keep the format the same every time we do the show. It's DFS, guys who we think wins this tournament, the best value spots in the lower end that are long shots, if you will, and then matchups. So let's go on with who wins this tournament. Of course, as always, I know it's high pressure, because you see the guys at the top and, sometimes nobody wants to play the quote unquote chalk of the chalk in terms of the big favorite, which looks like it's Cam Smith. But from you guys and Mangone, I guess this time I'll start with you. Who do you believe? I know you mentioned a few big names prior talking DFS, but who do you think wins this tournament?
Yeah, who I think wins and like the price.
Where do you find the most value?
Yeah,
in who wins.
So one range I always love to live in. Like if you told me I could only live in one range all the time, it'd probably be between like the 20 and like 40 or 50 to 1. Like that's the sweet spot for me. I'm not huge on like going up and grabbing like the 15 to 1 Webb Simpson or the 8 to 1 Cam Smith. That's not the range I like to live in. I think I really like the Corey Connors at 21 to 1 on FanDuel. I'm sure you can get it maybe at a different price on like another book, but I just pulled up the FanDuel book right now. Price shop these though, always. I mean, we're starting off the year. Maybe you're new to the golf scene. Maybe you joined Run Pure Bets because you saw all of Dunkel's great college football winners. Maybe this is your first time watching because Dunkel hit the easy national championship bet on the over. That was just a guaranteed lock.
We got there.
It was incredible the way that got there. But but definitely shop around. Like that's important. And don't just do that for matchups. Like just because there's matchups on DraftKings, there's also different ones on FanDuel. So and if you have like 5 books, check all the books and see which matchup is the best, which one you like the most. Maybe we give out a matchup that like you think is like, okay. And maybe you disagree with like the guy that we're going against. Then you go to another book and you're like, oh, I do like Corey Connors, but I don't like the guys against on the DK book that Snyder liked. And maybe you find one that you want to go against instead on a different book. So always do that. I think it's very, very important. But Corey Connors is my favorite guy. If I have to pick one, that's the guy I'm picking to ship this thing 21 to 1 over on the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Love it. And Snyder, who's your best value to win this thing?
I like Kevin Kisner to win this event. This is like one of those tracks where he can actually win at. There's only like 3 or 4 courses on the PGA Tour where he thinks he's actually capable of winning at or something. I mean, he's a short hitter. He usually just gets lapped by those bigger dogs and those bigger type majors and such like that. But this course, he has elite history on this course. Sets up really good for him. I mean, he played last week too. He says that it was nice to get the rust off of him last week as he nonchalantly, casually finished T10 when in that loaded field. So I definitely like him coming here. I think he's underpriced in the DFS markets and in the betting markets. You can get him at 30-1. Definitely like him. He's just been hitting his irons great. He's gonna hit every fairway here. He's gonna do what he needs to do. I mean, his course history here, he's got 3 top 5s in his last 6 trips here. So I think the win is coming here for Kevin Kisner. And I was going to ask you about that, JJ. How's it feel to run like God there in that UGA game?
I basically wrote off that. And I'll tell you what, running like God was even indifferent. I mean, I had 100% Jamison Williams in that 333 that I maxed out.
Talk about running pure. I mean, JJ, I faded him completely. I said, see you, Jameson. I X'd him. I sat there and I saw the injury, right? I see the injury and I go, ooh, that's bad. I feel for you, but cha-ching, like we were in great shape, of course. But
yeah, it was it was a shame. I mean, obviously not to get too far off tangent, but the way I looked at that slate was if Bryce Young's going to go off, it's really only going to be because of Jamison Williams. And I couldn't believe that like Bryce Young in that 333 was like 20% higher owned or 18% higher owned than Jamison Williams. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, where do they think Bryce Young's production is going to come from in this game? Like, no other receiver puts up ridiculous numbers on that offense. Obviously, of course, a shame to see Williams go down. And hopefully, it doesn't impact his draft stock or whatnot. And hopefully the NCAA also figures out a way to monetize these kids that play, and especially these big bowl games. But either way, I mean, when I saw you, man, going ahead of me in some of those entries, and I saw that you didn't have Jamison Williams, I'm like, this fucking guy.
I made 20 teams doing that $20 and I faded him in all. It's just whatever, man. Like one thing I love to do in DFS, and it's a little different in golf, like just to kind of get back on a little take with golf ownership is really spread out, man. Now, if there's a dude that was like 50% owned this week and I could eliminate half the field, I'd be in, but I kind of like just like, one thing has made my process a lot easier. And I think it's because I'm like really good at just finding values and like I'm good at finding the chalk or whatever. I just sometimes try and fade like one of the guys at the top, like if he's going to have a ton of ownership, and then you just kind of pray, man. You just get out the Vaseline and hope it's not going to be too hard to play total. I mean, and you play all the good guys around it. It's okay. So I think that's a route that I don't mind taking in golf at times. And sometimes you see these guys like in the Masters, you'll see some ownerships get pretty high. With these massive fields, you won't see it as much, but it worked out pretty well for me in the old college football, fading old Jamison Williams. And I was on the dogs as well. So it was a good night all around.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I have no qualms from the way that night ended. That's for sure. Couldn't believe that pick six. Just kind of ridiculous, but especially in that type of game, it's just that type of stuff never really happens. So it was nice all around to cash that team total. Snyder, I'll slide to you. Who's the biggest outright you think has a legitimate shot at winning this tournament?
I think right around that Keith Mitchell park. I don't mind going him for like a long shot. I'm going to be going to Keith Mitchell, 80-1. He loves the Bermuda grass greens. He's a guy that can get hot. He finished the season strong last year, so I definitely think he's a pretty good value at near 100-1. 80-1 is pretty good for him. That's pretty much where I'm going to be going for a long shot.
All right, Mangone, who's I know you mentioned a few of the cheaper guys in your DFS. Some of those guys were like $130 plus to win. Those cheaper DFS guys you mentioned before, and Ramey and Pendrith. One of them you like to win this, or are they too stretched and you want to go somebody else?
I'm worried about that the 30-year-old narrative, right? To get that chip. I don't know, man. It seems like you got to be a little bit older to get it done here. Snyder, let me ask you about this guy. There's a couple guys I'm interested in. Brian Harmon's kind of always interesting. I don't know how he's been here. Is like a Brendan Todd. He's always got a good putter. And like in order to win an event, you need to be able to putt. Is he someone that you think has the upside to win this event? Because I'll admit, I love a lot of these cheap guys for DFS. I haven't looked too deep at like the long shots, and I worry about taking some of the young guns for the long shot win.
With Harmon, Yeah, we were on him quite a bit to the early part of the season last year, but he kind of fell off, and I'm just gonna need to see it from him before I even roster him or bet him in anything. But Brendan Todd, he's got the game that you need here. He's gonna hit every fairway, and he can get hot with a putter. I mean, he's a good iron player. I don't know if he can has what it takes to get to 25 under, but I definitely think he can definitely pay off your price tag in DraftKings, and I don't think he's been talked up much at all this week. So I think he's more so better for maybe a T10 or a T20 bet with a little bit of a DraftKings action on the side.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking in this range. So I'm looking this 80 to 1 range. And there's definitely some interesting guys there. I do worry about Zach. I do worry about Zach Johnson at times. Maybe let's go with, he's kind of a guy that can get hot, but the problem is his putter is not always the best. But when it is, he's just really good. Let's go with Emiliano Grillo, the upside there. Cause we're trying to win. You get second place. It doesn't matter. If you're, as you used to like to make fun of Dunkel, Patrick Cantlay never winning the big thing, even though he came on late in the year. Grillo is a guy that can chip. So we'll go with him at 100 to 1 as the long shot that I like here.
Love it. Love it. Let's slide over to matchups. Do you have a favorite matchup that you like? Snyder, well, I'll start with you, man, because I went to you 3 times in a row, Snyder. Mangone, do you have a matchup? I know you mentioned looking at some better matchups, worse matchups in relation to, or maybe target a guy that you've already mentioned, a guy you like against, I guess some other matchups. Who's a guy that, regardless of matchup, you would probably like this week?
Yeah, Webb Simpson, I think, is as safe as it gets from a matchup perspective. It just depends who you get him against. I got him against Abe Answer at -142 here on FanDuel. That's a little deeper than I want it to be. A lot of these are already pretty juiced right now over on FanDuel. So again, price shop these up. I think that's super important. Corey Connors against a Coke Rack I would like, but again, on FanDuel, all these are really, really heavily juiced that I'm seeing. Here's one that's kind of interesting, Snyder. Joel Damon's fine and all, but is Brendan Todd in play, I think, in a matchup there? We talked about his safety. I wouldn't mind that. I like the Webb Simpson one the most. I just hate laying 142 against Abe Answer. I think that's my favorite one of the ones I've mentioned, but I don't know. What do you think of the Todd versus Damon one? Because Damon's also someone who we haven't really touched on, and it looks like DFS-wise is going to be chalky too. So maybe we touch on him a little bit.
Yeah, I like that Todd over Damon call there. I'm going to be off of Dahlman and DFS, so I definitely think the Todd versus him is a good spot there for sure. I like that.
So once again, we're in a situation where a question was asked to Mangone. He
I answer. I said Webb Simpson's my favorite. The -142. I just hate laying that juice, man. Go back to Snyder. I'll search the DK book too. The one thing I'll say is when you do these on the Wednesday night, some of this stuff has moved a little too far, but maybe it moves too far and you just get on that dog. So let's see if we can find one of those. But go to Snyder. I said Webb Simpson over Answer is my favorite matchup if I have to pick one.
Okay. And Snyder, I'm sure you'll be more prepared for this question than our other person on the show. But who do you like in matchups? I know a lot of names have been mentioned. So who's a guy you're targeting for matchups?
Yeah, I've got an underdog for us here. I don't think this guy should be an underdog to this guy. I think they should be right around -110, -110. I think it's a pretty even matchup. We got Mark Leishman versus Sung J M here. Sung J's been on a pretty good tear, but so is Leishman. I think that this should be a pick 'em line. I think we're getting pretty good value on Leishman here. Leishman has finished inside the top 5 in 2 of his last 3 appearances here at the Sony Open. Coming off that TOC with some good mojo. Sung J M hasn't had the best of as good of a course history here, so I definitely like the value in getting the underdog with Leishman over Sung J M here.
And you said you got that, what, -110?
+112 on FanDuel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dunkel, real quick. This is why you price shop right here. First of all, Snyder, didn't you say you liked Harris English a lot? Was that the one you liked a ton?
Maybe from a betting standpoint, like an outright. Maybe he's got the raw talent, but I don't know if I'm going to be on him this week.
Was it Kisner? I thought, because I saw the one that stuck out. This one stuck out. It's not my favorite, but I thought you might like it. Is a Harris English +105 versus a Taylor Gooch -130. That's kind of interesting, right? I didn't expect that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Taylor Gooch is a pretty big favorite over a lot of these guys in that range. I think Gooch is a fine cash play. He's been pretty steady. I don't know if on his upside, but I think he's he'll probably be in my cash team for sure.
Well, so here's the ones that stick out on the DK book to me. There's I think you would like the Henley over the Answer probably. But the other ones that stuck out was Matt McNeely is -130 against Christian Bezadenhu. And like, I don't really like Bezadenhu here that much.
I don't either. Yeah, I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, that feels like a really good one. And I like these way better than the FanDuel book one. So again, this is why the price shopping is so important. I think Webb Simpson as a dog to Cam Smith at +115 is like really intriguing. I mean, yeah, sure. It feels gross kind of putting these two like really great golfers against each other. But JJ, this feels like one of those spots where you used to do this a lot. Like I'm getting Dustin Johnson as a dog. Like this is outrageous. You know what I mean? I'm getting Webb Simpson as a dog in a course where he top 10s all the time. This is outrageous. Am I right?
I'd love to say you're right. However, I don't know if it was last year or the year before where I week after week stuck a fist up my ass because John Rahm had value against Dustin Johnson. So yeah, I mean, week after week, I was fading the best golfer in the world at the time in DJ for Rahm because I felt +110 was value, on a presumably coin flip, and he lost time and time again in that spot. But no, I agree with you. At the end of the day, you're looking for value pricing, value numbers, and despite that little lull of 3 to 4 weeks where I was losing money weekly back in Rahm, it ended up evening itself out because Rahm finished the season strong. And DJ, kind of tailed off a bit as well. So,
one last one I'm going to throw out that I think this one is a very strong one too that I'm definitely interested in. Corey Connors versus Sung J M. I get Corey Connors at +100. Like that doesn't seem bad. I mean, Snyder, you didn't like him that much, and I like Corey Connors. He's like at the top. I wasn't really slamming him into my lineup, so that's another one I think is interesting. I'll tell you this: DK book over the FanDuel, no doubt. If you're going for some of your bets. So that's definitely the spot I'm looking to make some of these matchups. And should be there's a couple here I like. I might place a couple bets on these.
Awesome. So I guess we could just slide over to final notes. I mean, we've already talked on outrights, matchups, DFS plays.
We hit on any top 20s yet?
Oh, T20s, my God. What a rookie.
Someone's here to keep the train on the rails.
Thank God one of us three is paying attention to the show format. Yeah, T20s. Snyder, who's your favorite T20 look?
I'm looking at Webb Simpson here. Do you guys think there's any way he doesn't finish T20? Here's the better question, because you can get him to T20 at -125 right now. I think that's pretty good odds.
I love that. I was actually going to say I like him at the T10. Like if I can steal him in that segment, I mean, I think it's a good spot for that. So, T20 for that, I think that's a good one, Snyder. -125 on him. I would take that.
And Mangone, who do you like as your favorite top 20?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely took the best one. You took the best one on the board for sure, Snyder. I won't obviously say Connors. Let's look for a little bit of a deeper guy that I'm interested in. For T20, I mentioned this guy, but so you can get. We'll talk about two guys. There's Brendan Todd at +330, which I don't mind. I kind of like the Matt McNeely at +220. I think that's the one I'm going to go with, Mr. Matt McNeely. I'm going to ride him out this week, so we'll take him at +220 here. Snyder, which one do you like more, Todd or McNeely? My lean's McNeely.
I would go McNeely, yeah.
Cool.
I don't mind. Where's that guy at? My Corn Ferry guy. I just seen him. Max McGreevy, +550 to T20. He's T20 2 of his last PGA starts, so I think that's a longer shot T20 if you want to take a shot.
And real quick, let's call this out. Webb Simpson is -160 on FanDuel at T20. Like, bet that on DraftKings. Like, yeah, and I'm pointing this out because it's so important. Like, it's just the price shopping in PGA is so valuable in the long haul. We're gonna be doing these videos like all year long, and you're just gonna make units back where, like, if you make a mistake, it can kind of make up for it. So there's that one, and then McNeely's +210 over there. That's a 20-cent difference. Todd is 320 there, and then 330. It's a 10-point. I mean, sometimes you can find like 50 to 60 point differences on that. So shop that around. I'm telling you, it's important.
Love it. So that kind of wraps it up. I mean, outside of just some final notes, I mean, I know we've discussed a lot, Snyder, as far as how you're approaching this DFS wise, betting wise, a brief recap on final notes for your approach here.
Yeah, my it's going to be centered around Mark Leishman. Kevin Kisner for the most part. I'm going to have some Corey Connors in there as well. I mean, it's going to be pretty chalky for me up top, and I'll be looking to differentiate down low, leave some salary on the table. But I mean, I really don't figure in ownership at all in PGA DFS, especially since they moved that cut rule down. I mean, you see the 6-6 is down in that 5 to 7% range generally. I mean, that in itself, if you can get 6-6 through, I think that's going to differentiate yourself quite a bit from the field. And I don't typically, unless it's like a cheap chalk, then I'll kind of steer away from that. But these value guys or the stud guys that are going to be chalky, I don't even figure that in my into anything I'm building for that week.
I don't factor that in, Snyder. Do you factor in the, like, I kind of want to have one single digit guy. Like, I don't want to have everyone above 15%, I guess. I don't know. You're a little, I think I'm more on the side of, I want to make sure I get like at least one in there, make sure, because you never know where the ownership's going to lie. Are you still okay with like, even just don't really care too much about it as long as it's not just like one major chalk guy?
Yeah, I get that. That's fine. But if you could, I mean, if you could guarantee yourself getting 6-6 through, but every one of your guys is going to be, say, 20% owned, would you take that, or would you take the gamble on maybe a lower tier guy having a 40%, 35% chance of making the cut? Just to
Snyder, getting 6-6 through is very hard. So if you're guaranteeing me 6-6 every single week, Snyder, I will just go out and grab a loan at the old bank and I'll just shove, man. I will absolutely shove. That would be perfect.
Absolutely.
But getting 6-6 is hard, man. I mean, if you said, Snyder, if you said to your buddy, hey, just build a DraftKings line, just get 6-6 through. That's it. Nothing else. Good luck. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's like Dunkel. I love this in football, right? Just pick 5 each week. You know, those pools, just get 5 right. It's not that hard. Pick 5 games. It shouldn't be difficult. You go all season and 4 or 5. Oh, I got bad beat, man. I should have had it. It's every single time. So it's definitely tough, but I love DFS golf, and that's one reason to be at Run Pure Sports. We got all this stuff. I'm going to dive in and build out my player pool here shortly. I'm going to look at all the different pieces of content. I'm going to make my decisions. Then we got also a live show over on the Run Pure Sports channel if you're hanging out, or maybe tomorrow morning because this blocks a little bit later. Watch the show. It was with Snyder, Uncle T, and Tambo. They break it all down. I'm going to head into Saber Sim, run some of the stuff. Fix my teams, bump the ownership and call it a day. It should be a good tournament, and excited to keep diving in with it. And hopefully we get a nice big hit leading into the Masters, basically. I want to get a nice one before that.
Yeah, Mangone mentioned a good point about the Run Pure Sports end with all the PGA content DFS-wise. Snyder has the hook up there with Uncle T, Tambo, and of course even Big T and Hoop and AP and all of them dabble as well at times. Uncle T too. So I think that overall, I mean, you're missing out on a lot there. And on the bets end, we'll have this show weekly for you to run through some minor DFS information. And of course, more betting content. Snyder's going to start hooking up the betting article for us as well with T20s and his favorite looks there.
Let's do this. Snyder's betting article. Again, if you're new, and if you're someone in the chat who knows how good it was, what was that streak? I mean, at one point it felt like it was hitting it was maybe 9 out of 16 or something crazy on the outrights. It was a wild stretch.
It was a nutty run there. I think I hit 9 outrights. It was 9 out of, I don't think it was every other. I think it was 9 out of 19 or 9 out of 20, but it was just an unreal run. I've never hit that many in a row in that short of a time frame. So it was definitely fun. And hopefully if we put in some extra work this year, we can match that or even better it.
Well, if someone says, Snyder, if they say to you, oh, there's no way you can do the run again. Well, you weren't working as hard as you were at PGA. I mean, you've absolutely crushed it last year. I'm excited to keep working with you on it and talking it with you. And we'll definitely be tailing it. We'll check it out. And I'm excited for another run from you.
Awesome. So guys, head over to runpuresports.com, runpurebest.com to see what we are all about. But yes, we will be back next week with another one of these weekly rundowns. Talking through everything we talked through on this show, and I'll put the minutes in here as well, so it's easy to get back to before. And they mentioned that the tournament starts a little later than normal. Tomorrow I think it's a 12:10 Eastern start, so you have extra time to do your thing, wake up in the morning, build lineups, or wake up in the morning, make bets, regardless. But thanks again, Snyder, Mangone, for joining. Glad to have the PGA Bet Show back. As always, folks, regardless, gamble responsibly, stay safe, and run pure. I'll be back with a video or a few videos this weekend in NFL, so stay tuned for all of that. And, of course, be sure to check out Spread and Tyler's Daily NBA Rundown with the cool DFS crew helping along the way. I know this has been a long outro, but as always, gamble responsibly. We'll catch you guys next time.